Right now we are in Vientiane, which is the capital of Laos, and it is July right now, which is the middle of the monsoon season here. So in this video we want to share with you our experiences during our time here in the rainy season in Laos, the downsides of traveling here during this time, as well as the amazing things about coming here that maybe you didn't know about. The monsoon season in mainland Southeast Asia runs from May to October, and that's in countries like Thailand, Cambodia, Laos and Vietnam. Of course, there are variations within each country depending on certain areas when the rainy season is, but in Laos it is 100% definitely the rainy season. Obviously, one of the biggest cons of this time is the rain, and right now it is actually raining. I'm actually gonna take you just outside where we are and show you what the weather is like right now. There is a misconception in rainy seasons in any country that the rain is constant, and that is definitely not the case. As you can see, obviously it is raining right now. I'm gonna walk out into the rain, but it wasn't raining this morning. It was sunny, and in fact it was actually sunny all week here. The weather patterns can be really unpredictable. Some days you could have sun all day. Other days you could have storms come in and out for maybe an hour or two, and then other days you do have rain all day. It doesn't generally last longer than 2 days straight, so you're gonna have those sunny days again. So now let's talk about all the pros and cons of coming to Laos during the monsoon season so you can make a decision about when is best for you to travel here. So the first pro is that everything is greener. Laos is probably at its most beautiful during the rainy season, when all the forests and jungles are thick and lush and green, and if you're someone who likes outdoor adventures, nature or hikes, this is probably the perfect time for you. You will also see a lot more of animals and wildlife, and lots of different plants and flowers, and loads of butterflies as well. So it's definitely one of the most beautiful times to visit the country and see it at its best. Apart from being greener, another pro is that the waterfalls are bigger. Laos has some of the most beautiful waterfalls that we've seen, but if you come at the wrong time of the year, they may be really small or not even exist at all. This could make your whole experience of exploring the country a little underwhelming if you are coming to see the amazing waterfalls. Some famous waterfalls like Quang Si in Luang Prabang are active all year round, so you don't have to worry about not being able to see that on your trip, but other waterfalls in a similar area like Tadsi Waterfall is not active at all times of the year, and if you try to visit here during the dry season, it might either be closed or pretty much non-existent, so you'll be paying the entry fee and you won't actually really see anything. So that's something to keep in mind if you are wanting to see the waterfalls here in Laos. And we would recommend coming to Laos to see them during the rainy season, or at least right after the rainy season to see them in their prime. However, there is a con of visiting certain waterfalls and blue lagoons during the rainy season, and that is because right after a lot of rain, they can turn kind of muddish and green in color, so it might not be that crystal clear blue color that you see in photos and videos online. So the best way to avoid that is try not to go to those locations right after a lot of rain. If it's been quite sunny a few days before, it might be the nice blue colors. But if that is one of the main reasons that you're coming to Laos to see the beautiful blue lagoons, we would recommend maybe not coming during the rainy season to guarantee that you will see that. Another downside to rainy season is that certain activities might not be available to do throughout these months. For example, hot air balloon rides and paragliding and extreme activities like that don't run throughout the rainy season months because of the unpredictable weather. Other popular activities like tubing along the river is advised against. Hiking in certain places could be more difficult, and access to caves might be limited too because of stronger currents and higher levels of water. So if you're planning to do any activities like this, we would recommend checking before you go to make sure that they are open, or asking some locals if it's safe to do that in the area before you actually go and do it. Because of this, there is a lot less people traveling during the rainy season, and it is the low season for tourism. But actually this is kind of a pro because you get to experience the main tourist destinations and sites with less people and hardly any crowds, which is great for anybody who likes to explore at a slower and quieter pace and wants to avoid lots of people being there. And it also gives you the opportunity to get the best photos and have the best experience possible too. Less tourists during this time also means cheaper prices. During low season, prices for accommodation, activities are a lot lower, and you can get some great travel deals to save on costs too. So if you're a budget traveler coming during the low season to save on things like this and avoid the high spikes in prices during the higher seasons, could actually work in your favor. Of course, I've mentioned these pros, but low season is low season for a reason. One of the biggest cons of traveling during this time is the damage the rain causes and the effect that it could have on your travel plans. Heavy rains and storms, of course, lead to flooding, and this flooding can affect the roads and specifically areas near the Mekong or major rivers in Laos as well. And this weather can also lead to landslides. So if you're planning to travel in mountainous areas in the north of Laos, this could severely affect your travel plans, and it could lead to tours or trips being cancelled if there is heavy storms or landslides in those areas. So you do have to be careful and plan ahead in these situations. Not only are the roads affected by the floods, but the fact that the roads in Laos are not that well developed makes this even worse. So when the rain hits, the roads can sometimes just become unrecognizable. Instead, they look like a completely new river has just been formed. And the roads that once were sandy or dusty now have just turned into absolute mudslides. So this is the reason why you see a lot of 4x4s and pickup trucks in Laos, because of this reason. So during this season, we would say road trips are not the best idea. We did a huge motorbike trip from the south of Laos all the way to the most northern point in Laos, in just above Pong Sali, and we drove on all kinds of roads. There was potholes, there was broken parts of the road just falling off down the side of the cliff, there was trucks everywhere, dust. Some of the roads were just sand at some points. You weren't really even driving on a road, and that was all during the dry season. So we cannot imagine what some of those roads would look like now during the rainy season, and we think that it would just be pretty much impossible to drive on some of them, if not really, really difficult and really, really dangerous as well. So this is why we wouldn't recommend doing a road trip during the rainy season in Laos. Of course, everybody can make their own decisions. If you have a really good off-road motorbike or great 4x4 pickup truck to do your trip, maybe it's possible and it would be a pretty fun adventure. But if you're taking a little scooter like we did, we would definitely save a road trip for the dry season instead. Even though you might not be able to do a road trip during this time of year or do certain activities, there is actually another pro to the rainy season that you should know about, and that is cleaner air. So the dust in Laos, especially by the roads, can be brutal. So the rainfall definitely helps keep the air cleaner and fresher during this time. And this means that even though the roads will be muddy, the dust and sand that's in its place usually will be gone, which makes driving or traveling by public transport a lot more pleasant. Also, events like burning season, which usually happens in the dry season from around February to April or maybe May, can severely affect the air quality, and it can cause smog and wildfires across the country. And this smog can also affect certain viewpoints and activities that you might want to do during this time. You won't have the same beautiful views of the mountains that you usually would. This is something you definitely need to check before you travel in the dry season during that time. But if you're going to come during the rainy season, you're not going to have this problem, because the rainfall clears it right up, and it definitely makes it one of the best times of year to visit, to have the cleanest and freshest air, the best views, and it also keeps the temperature down as well, so it's not too hot and it's not too cold. Another issue that you might face if you're visiting Laos during the rainy season is to do with the humidity. This can depend on where you stay and what kind of accommodation, but when we stayed in a fan room in Laos from July to August, we actually had a major issue with the humidity, and it caused our bags and clothes to get moldy and damaged, as well as our laptop as well. We had a MacBook which really can't withstand these kind of environments, and it just shut down on us and wouldn't turn on, and we thought it was broken. But there is actually a really easy fix to this, and it's just having air conditioning in your accommodation, and this sorted the issue right away because it draws out all of the moisture in the air. So this is something to keep in mind if you're going to travel on a budget and you were planning to stay in a fan room and you need to work online, or you don't want your things to get damaged. If there is really heavy rain, this could affect your stuff. So opting for an air-conditioned room could solve that problem. So I think now I've covered most of the pros and cons about traveling to Laos during the rainy season. And if you've gone through all of this video and you're still wondering if you should actually come here during the rainy season and you can't decide, we think that this really depends on what it is you want to get out of your trip. If you want to see the popular tourist destinations, explore the main sites, see the waterfalls, and be outside in the nature without the crowds, this might be the best time for you to visit to avoid tourists, save on costs, and see the country when it's at its most beautiful. But if you are coming to Laos and you're planning to do a motorbike trip, go off the beaten path, or do any activities that are weather dependent, we would recommend to wait until the rainy season is over. So if you've already got a ticket booked and you're planning to travel during this time, don't worry, it's still going to be a really nice time to come to Laos. It's not going to be completely raining every single day. Right now I'm looking outside and I can actually see blue sky and sun, and it's actually been like that all week, like I said earlier. Out of the month that we've been here, only half, if not less than half of that time was it raining, and rain usually comes in really fast, really heavy, and goes away again. So you can kind of plan your days around it as well. We will, however, mention that it is July right now, and the worst month for rain is in August. It's okay if you bought a ticket during this time because we've been here before and it wasn't that bad. But if you can, we would definitely avoid it if possible. We did hear that the south of Laos is worse for storms during the rainy season, but areas like Vientiane and Luang Prabang, because they're so in the center of mainland Southeast Asia, it does feel like they're not as affected as often by the rain. There can be heavy storms, of course, but by the time storms get into the center, we feel like it's definitely not as bad as other countries we visited during these times as well. Personally, our favorite time to visit Laos is during October and November, when the rain has ended, but you still have all of the benefits because it's right after the rainy season, so you have all of the lush green jungle, the waterfalls are still big, and the air is really fresh and clean still. And also the temperature is not too hot and not too cold. So we think it's the perfect time to come, and we would definitely recommend that to you as well. We hope that this cleared up any worries that you have about an upcoming trip to Laos during the rainy season, or if it's just helped you plan your trip better. If this video did help you out, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe for more travel content on Laos or Southeast Asia in general, which is where we are at the moment, and we'll see you in the next one.